Hello, I'm Mantastic'c and Fantastic, and today I want to talk about the Heroine REM machine that has just returned once again to North America. So, the Heroine REM machine is one of the oldest events in PAD, and due to the fact that it is so old, many of the cards can feel quite outdated, despite the fact that Gung Ho does give periodic buffs, maybe new evolutions and whatnot. Like, at this point in time, all the cards have weapon assist, which does help offset the pain of rolling the bottom rarity, but at the same time, those weapon assists are just kind of just okay, I feel, overall. And at the same time, the middle rarity or 6-star cards, many of them just don't really hold up to like their prowess from the original debut. I remember Mary Donnellis was one of the coolest leaders back in the day, and I utilized them for like the very first Coliseum and other hard content, but they're just not going to be that effective in this day and age. So with that in mind, I'm not that inclined to actually roll in this event. Like, it costs 10 magic stones still, and at the time of the original debut years and years ago, those 10 magic stone price tag was much more justifiable. But at this point in time, it just feels underwhelming. There's a 17.5% chance to get any of the top rarity cards, and the top rarity cards are where the vast majority of the value is actually going to lie. So you could monster exchange for them, but at the same time, the rest of the rolling pool is 82.5%, and most of the cards in the 6 and 5-star are just not that magical or meaningful overall. So I am definitely in the boat of not rolling in this event outside of your free egg machine rolls that you know you're going to be able to have by clearing various dungeons, including a reasonably challenging one. But with that being said, I still want to take a look at the new cards and or cards that I feel deserve a little bit more of a highlight. So the first new card I want to look at is Karaha. Hopefully I said that wrong or right. But they have 2 skill boosts, and once they transform, it's triple 10 combo with a VDP and 2 rows. So when VDP or Bro or whatever, any light-based team that likes to blob stuff together, they can function well on in theory because their damage output is obviously going to be spectacular. Now, you might make the argument that, well, you know, triple 10 combo is kind of wasteful on a transforming card, and that is true except for super gravity dungeons where your attack values are dropped down to teeny tiny values. So it can punch hard in super gravity dungeons. Their active skill, once they do transform, is quite powerful. It's 1 turn of bypassing damage and attribute absorption effects, which is great. We almost always need to have this type of active skill in virtually every given dungeon, and then you unlock the board and create 6 fire and 6 light orbs over non-hearts. So it is an orb generator. It also provides you with absorption cancellation, so it's quite a valuable active skill. And as a leader, they have actually quite spectacular multipliers when you really think about it, with auto follow attack and bonus combos. And you have to match 6 or more connected light orbs, and you get your shield when you match 6 or more connected fire orbs. And that's kind of awkward when I really think about it, because most orb changers don't make fire and light orbs, except for herself here, of course. So it may be challenging to have that many orbs on a regular basis, unless, you know, you have, like, you own 2 and you pair with a friend. But even then, that's going to be quite challenging, I feel, for the most part. So, like, it is potentially be strong, but I feel like the fact that it needs, like, so much effort to create a system is not that feasible. In terms of weapon assists, again, if you have any light row based team, this might be just a magical weapon assist because you get the sub-attribute change. So a sub-attribute that wasn't existing in light now can be light, so more damage output, 7 combo to just outright double your damage, and also 2 light rows, along with the fact that the active skill is 2 turns of damage and attribute absorption cancellation along with a board changer. So it's an active skill you're going to actually need, again, one for the vast majority of instances. So the weapon assist may be of value there. And then their second weapon assist gives you triple team HP along with a dragon typing. So if you need to have dragon typing for whatever team you're playing, that could be an option. It also gives you 2 turns of 100% damage reduction and a full health heal. So 2 turns of 100% damage reduction is not that common overall. So again, this might be situationally helpful, but for the most part, I feel like this is kind of a situational card. On the other hand, Aura is the background music card, so you can't monster exchange for them, but you could purchase them, and they might be a meaningful purchase because their active skill is a 5-turn cooldown that gives 6 turns of 35% damage reduction, and then 1 turn of 2 times attack for all monsters. So it is essentially or nearly a looping shield. It is a looping shield if you're inherited onto a 1-turn cooldown card, but you are able to have a long-lasting shield that can in turn help you persevere, push through challenging content where you're expecting large repeated hits over and over again. And it's kind of similar to like Crusader's Shield, but unlike Crusader's Shield, it gives a bunch of RCV instead along with the balanced typing addition. Again, do you need this much RCV? Maybe. I'm definitely in the mindset that if you have enough effective health to tank the largest reasonable hit in the dungeon, RCV is the next best thing to stack because you don't need more health. Like, you've already tanked that big hit. More healing lets you restore your health back up to your full level, which is obviously much more meaningful. But in addition to this potential shielding active skill, they are a transforming card after 22 turns with a 3-turn delay. And then they have quad 10 combo. Again, super gravity dungeons where this could exist better. On a 4-turn cooldown, you clear all unmatchable, all awoken binds, all regular binds, and create a spinner. So it can be a powerful cleric who does have large damage output. The cross awakening and the L awakening does give them extra value overall, because when you think about it, those types of awakenings you do like to have on a given team, but not necessarily stacked out of proportion. Their leader skill doesn't exist, so it does exist in the sense that you have to match exactly 5 connected fire, dark, or hearts. So I guess you can make the argument they're kind of scaling like Prim or Ateli or Kaishu, but I feel like it's just not quite as magical overall, mostly because, well, they're not an orb changer. And yes, the spinner does exist, but it's not giving you bonus movement time to truly leverage that spinner overall. And the other weapon assist that they do features 3 seconds of movement time with a spinner along with a full cleric ability that clears. And it gives the orb movement time, but it's only a spinner for 1 turn. So it's not quite as magical as it's not going to carry you along for your rainbow-oriented teams. The next card I want to take a look at is the new Planner evolution because she is quite powerful and meaningful. She can have triple 10 combo with 2 attack while below 50% with Dark. So in terms of damage output, one of the most spectacular damage outputs possible with a huge amount of health, great attack stat, and quite a high RCV stat. Basically just great stats all around for the most part. And the active skill is a 3-turn cooldown that only works if you're below 20% health. But when you are, they gain 5 times personal damage and clears all unmatchable and all bind and awoken binds. So she can function as a cleric if you are able to get your health low. So the best way to get your health low is utilizing the Shikigami card from Gung Ho Collab. Basically, they cut your health to 1, create 2 columns of dark orbs, which in turn is utilized for a large number of dark teams. So 2 Shikigamis with Planner. You have a full cleric who does outrageously stupendous damage. They will function great in super gravity dungeons because triple 10 combo is already a ton of personal damage. Then you factor in these attack while below 50%. It's just absolutely sky-high damage output. They have 8 latent slots, so they can take double damage cap, maybe 2 SDRs, or whatever else you need to have. Point of the matter is, Planner is an incredibly hard-hitting card, and as a leader, they do in theory have 16 times effective health. They give you bonus combos and matching exactly 6 connected dark orbs, and the shield when you match 2 plus dark combos. Might be difficult to get that number of dark orbs. You need 9 dark orbs in total for this to function, but with the Shikigamis, in theory, they do work. So it is quite interesting. It is quite powerful. She does have a new weapon assist, which gives 2 attack while below 50%, which is actually absurd, but the low cooldown could be difficult to work around if you don't want to have a cleric-style active skill. And her other weapon assists, they exist, but it's kind of just a weird mishmash of potential awakenings. There is a cross double team HP, big shield, some movement time, RCV, board change. Her other base form is mixing 2 different types of rows, which I think is just kind of a big no-no for the most part. And her dark form here, it does have a scaling leader skill with, amusingly enough, 16 times effective health. Well, 16 times health and 16 times recovery, which is kind of interesting when you really think about it. But you have to match exactly 5 connected fire or dark orbs. So again, this scaling type of leader skill can be meaningful. Obviously much less personal damage, but in theory, if you have a big enough board, or you just are able to squeeze in lots of 5 matches and you have ways to make lots of dark and fire orbs, you can deal stupendously high amounts of damage overall. Next card that I found at least meaningful for myself because I actually own her is Urica. And Urica in her blue form has actually immense personal damage. You have a 5 attribute, a 10 combo, and then double 7 combo with a healthy attack stat. So she's able to deal large amounts of damage, obviously in her main attribute, and her sub-attribute is actually pumping out damage. I was tinkering around with her on my LJ Kitty team, and she had a leader swap latent, so like I just put that on there just to give her 1.5 times, so I didn't know if it was worth investing like double damage cap, but it kind of seems it might be, because like her sub attribute and main attribute were on a relatively regular basis like doing 1.5 damage caps each, so hard hitting card there. But the active skill can also be meaningful. You change the whole board to all attributes plus hearts, so all rainbow teams benefit from that. And then for 2 turns, you bypass damage absorb and attribute absorption cancellation, and 2 turns of void damage void. So you're basically ignoring all those mechanics. And it is an 18 turn cooldown, which is definitely on the longer side. And you could, in theory, take the skill charge Super Awakening, but then your personal damage just drops down so much. So I feel that Urica would be definitely a great choice if you like needed someone to hit hard while having absorption cancellations, and ideally the dungeon doesn't have too many absorption spawns overall. But if they do have many absorption spawns, you may have to default to the skill charge Super Awakening, and then it becomes a 9 turn cooldown, which is a much more reasonable cooldown overall. But I don't think it's necessarily worth going out of your way to trade for her. Like, it is a costly trade, and like I just found it nice and powerful and convenient, but I feel like I can live without it. But it was just a card that I actually own, so I could, talk about it and say like, yeah, this does some cool things. The next new card is Tierra, and they are a transforming card, so with 2 skill boosts and a 2 turn haste on a 20 turn cooldown, not bad overall. And once they transform, they have 6 4 attribute awakenings, so gargantuan amounts of personal damage once again, and their active skill solves the problem of transforming cards because on a 3 turn cooldown, they increase their damage cap to 4 billion, so nearly what a double damage cap latent is. So both main and sub attribute will be dealing quite meaningful damage, and then for 1 turn you bypass absorption and damage absorption and attribute absorption. So again, if you need a absorption cancellation card, Tierra may be a wonderful choice. Doesn't make you a board, but they deal large amounts of damage while having that absorption cancellation effect on a 3 turn cooldown, so it's going to come up on a regular basis. And if you don't need the absorption cancellations, you can just pop the active skill to get the damage cap increased so their damage output is much higher. Remember, with 4 3 attribute awakenings, that is an immense amount of personal damage. But the fun doesn't necessarily stop there, and they're a 6-star card, so it's going to be difficult to roll them, unfortunately, because considering the fact that I don't encourage you to roll. But they have a skill boost and a 4 attribute awakening, along with 2 turns of absorption cancellation for both damage and attribute absorption cancellation, with 2 turns of changing the enemy's attribute to water, which may or may not be that helpful. But more so, the point of the matter is it's a skill boost and a way to grant the owning card 3.5 times personal damage. That's pretty outrageous when you think about it, while also having the absorption needs that you need to cover. So quite a powerful weapon assist overall for rainbow-based teams. And then their other weapon assist is 80% poison resist and a 3 attribute awakening, and a potentially situational wood attribute changer for the sub attribute. So again, you could create a rainbow-based team. You don't have a wood attribute on your team in any way, shape, or form. This weapon assist can grant the wood attribute, so therefore you can proc your rainbow leader skill. And the 3 attribute awakening does give 2.5 times personal damage, which is quite meaningful. Now, be mindful of the fact that this is an awakening, which means if your awakenings are disabled, you don't actually get the wood attribute change. So maybe not necessarily relying on it unless you have a cleric based active skill that can clear those awoken binds on a regular basis. Oreo is a card that I rolled recently, and I think their weapon assist is worth mentioning at least. It has full bind immunity, double blind, double jammer, and a 3 attributes. So quite a nice spread of different awakenings. You can give your bind vulnerable card bind immunity and more personal damage if you're a rainbow based team. But the active skill is an 18 turn cooldown that changes hearts to fire. So maybe if you need all attributes plus hearts, maybe use this before your board changer. But then you get a full cleric active skill of reducing all unmatchable, all awoken skill binds, and then 2 turns of damage and attribute absorption cancellation. I think that's actually pretty powerful overall. Like, it's a unique blend of multiple different types of abilities in a single weapon assist with valuable awakenings, I feel, for the most part. So like, I did roll one for my free rolls, and I definitely plan on making them into a weapon assist. They're Base form is actually still pretty powerful. It's a skill charge plus, so this 18 turn cooldown is going to be charged up much faster for that same type of active skill. And they can have double 10 combo and attack while above 50% and a 5 attribute awakening along with double devil killer. So they can deal meaningful amounts of damage for your rainbow based teams, but maybe they might have a bit more value as a weapon assist. But again, if you need absorption cancellation solution cards, Oreo can be a powerful option, but again, it is a 6-star card, so you have to roll it, and I don't really encourage rolling. And then the last card I want to draw attention to is Linen, who is the only new 5-star rarity card. And for the most part, I felt like the 5-star cards are not that great, but it might be good for, say, like low rarity challenges. They do have a high amount of effective health, but their active skill is a 2-turn cooldown that gives 2 times attack for this individual card, unlocks the board, and creates 3 fire, dark, and heart orbs. And their awakenings are double 10 combo and tons of fire and dark tacos. So if you make multiple combos of fire or dark, huge amounts of damage, and with dual leaders, in theory, you do at least have a way to solve orb generation needs. As a leader, like, they do have like 16 times effective health. They do have nice multipliers. They do have a lot of bonus combos, but you will have to, match follow-up attack if you want to like use dual leaders. Maybe for like low rarity challenges, this is quite a legitimately strong leader when you think about it, considering the fact that they bring all of the zest themselves. So maybe you can do possibly cool things with them. Maybe like Alt MD2, where like 6-star rarity or lower is enhanced. This could be a possible solution overall. But with that being said, I feel like for the most part, this event is not necessarily the best one to actually roll in. Like, sure, it does have, some cards that are valuable, but for 10 magic stones, it feels too costly. If it was cheaper, I would be definitely much more inclined to roll, but at 10 magic stones, I feel like you're just better off rolling in like Super Godfest or just better collabs for the most part. But regardless of all that, let me know what you, ladies and gentlemen, think about this event in the comments down below. Do you think this event is actually worth rolling in, or are you just going to skip and pretend it doesn't exist? Either way, I wish you all the very best of luck in your own pad adventures, and happy puzzling.